Incredible animation, amazing art style, flashy Sakuga sprinkled on top as a garnish.
These were the ingredients chosen to create the perfect little...
All of these things stand out when you're watching an animated fight. If you look at shonen in particular, you can find a shit ton of anime with spectacular looking fights. Yet somehow, most of the fights don't come close to a lot of the fights in the little comedy anime known as Gintama. It's okay, I'm sure you've never heard of it before.
But how, random unknown YouTuber? How can an anime known for its parodies and its foolish toilet humor with far less budget to work with, how can they possibly do fights better?
Believe me, at first glance I completely get it. How can the same show that has this inside of it actually produce something like this and still manage to find a way to make it hit when it actually decides it's time to be for real? I will say that it's still pretty nice to see that we're getting an arc redone with better animation, but even with that to the side, how can I claim that Gintama fights hit harder? Well, let me be one of the first people to tell you that it ultimately comes down to preference. If you've had the misfortune of this video hitting your algorithm, I'm not here to rage bait, nor am I here to shit on any popular anime that has come out in the last 20 years or so. I'm simply here to discuss what makes a good fight, while looking through the medium of anime, and also to talk shit about why Gintama's superior. Okay, alrighty, let's start the video. Across any medium, not just inside of anime, these are some of the main components that I look for when looking for a great fight, or rather to distinguish an ordinary fight from a great one. For me, there has to be some high stakes involved. The result of the fight has to come with consequences or impact moving forward within the story, especially if the fight isn't the final battle. There also has to be motive behind the fight, and the fight sequence itself has to be clean. Now, everything I mention won't matter as much if I'm not invested in at least one of the characters involved in the fight. If not, this shit is just eye candy, a bunch of empty calories. The beauty of Gintama is that despite all of the humor and lack of seriousness that typically goes on because the majority of characters' neutral state is to be an idiot, Gintama has the power to sneak in an episode out of nowhere, and it hits you harder than Truck-kun, sending you into an isekai. This is only my second Gintama video, but I really want to stay away from spoilers and all of the hard-hitting shit, so I'm gonna go over a 3-episode arc that sits outside of my Gintama top 10 arcs. It's still something that stands out in my mind far more than some of the more flashy, forgettable fights that some people love to hype up. Funny enough, we start off with Ote breaking the fourth wall at her father's grave, talking about how she's finally gonna be the character that she was created to be, and that would be continue running her father's dojo. I mean, shit, it only took her 260 episodes. Anyway, while at the grave, her first love, Obi-Wan, returns from space, really making her buy into the idea of running the dojo again, as he was the youngest instructor of her father's dojo. Everywhere Obi-Wan traveled in space, he learned the way of the sword. Shinpachi is absolutely elated to see Obi-Wan still alive and buys into the idea of running the dojo again. They try to recruit members, some Gintama butt play goes on, Ote's stalkers pull up and try to blow up Obi-Wan out of jealousy, but then the man pulls this out of his back pocket and also reveals that he's half cyborg now. You see, when he had originally set out to travel the galaxy, his terminal blew up, so everyone assumed that he had died. In actuality, he had been transported to another planet, but he was dying. So the people on that planet acted quickly and turned him into a half-cyborg, half-man, as that was the only way to keep him alive. Later on, it's revealed that the mechanical half of Obi-Wan's body has a laser cannon wave that will trigger and destroy planets, which will push the alliances of those same planets to declare war on Earth. I'll spare you all the details, but Gin elects himself as the one to stop Obi-Wan. Ote eavesdrops and learns what Gin is gonna do and ends up pleading to him to at least give Shinpachi the rest of the day with Obi-Wan, but Gin doesn't even hesitate and goes in for the kill, or so it would seem. During this whole process, Gin comes off as a complete asshole. He practically says fuck all of that sappy big bro shit, and even rage baits Shinpachi. It's a real shitty situation considering how Shinpachi views Obi-Wan as an older brother who doesn't want Gintoki, his other older brother, to go through with killing Obi-Wan. Again, without getting into all of the details, the cyborg half of Obi-Wan's self has corrupted him and is slowly taking control over his body, leaving him as a tool to spark wars with other planets. Of course, Gin goes in alone to take out Obi-Wan, but it's also revealed that rather than kill him, he wants to find a way to bring Obi-Wan back alive with his humanity still intact. So he gets down on his knees and begs the Shinsengumi to delay its search for Obi-Wan, and all so that he could find a way to bring back Obi-Wan to Shinpachi and Otei. Because at the end of the day, Gin really has Shinpachi and Otei's best interest at heart despite what he says. His whole asshole surface is really just a facade. Now, if you've never watched Gintama, you won't understand how significant this shit is right here. Because that man Gintoki has never begged for anything, especially with the Shinsengumi. He never, absolutely not. This really shows you just how far Gin is willing to go just because this means so much to Shinpachi and Otei. And Gin didn't even want Obi-Wan to soil his hands any further. Just to remind you all, this is just a short 3-episode arc. You have the background of who Obi-Wan is to the Shimura family, the dynamics he has with Shinpachi, and how much he means to him as an older brother and a mentor. You got the conflict with Gin and the Shimura family because of what Gin has to do. The stakes for this arc is there being a galactic war if Obi-Wan isn't stopped. And you learn Gin isn't doing this just to save the Earth and seems heartless as he's trying to maintain the humanity within Obi-Wan for Shinpachi and Otei. You see just how far Gin is willing to go. But I don't want to make this entire video about how Gintoki is one of the best MCs out there. No insane animated fight with crazy budget, but it still hits. This is primarily carried with emotions. Once you have your viewers invested in the characters, putting some emotion within the fight is the ultimate cheat code. And the great thing about this is that this isn't an empty fight for the sake of showing a fight. There is purpose behind it. You get character growth at the end in Shinpachi, a character who's typically in the shadows of Gintoki and Kagura. Again, this arc wouldn't even be in a lot of Gintama fans' top 10 arcs, yet it does more in 3 episodes than some battle shonen arcs do in 10 plus or a whole season. Fights have to mean more than just a bunch of reskins of obstacles standing in the way, at least to me anyway. Now I can hear the pushback. Yo, you brought up a whole arc talking about all of this extra shit outside of the fight. But that right there is the thing. Context matters. Build-up matters. Having a random ass fight while can shift up the pace and look cool is ultimately meaningless if it does nothing for the story. Seriously, if you could remove a fight and it doesn't impact the story whatsoever other than looking cool, did it really accomplish anything? I mean, yeah, some fan service, but beyond that, what does it accomplish? To be fair, not every fight needs to be super impactful, and not every anime is gonna have over 300 episodes of characters showing their personalities and growing. Gintama spends a lot of its time with silly shenanigans, but through all of that you get closer to the characters. You get enough time to understand them and their insanity, because pretty much every character in Gintama is insane, at least to some degree. Just to cap off this video, everyone is gonna have their own preferences. Some people will get attached to the stoic, cool character and will be fully invested in them, while someone else can see that same stoic character and feel as if they're boring because there's no depth to them. As I always say, enjoy what you enjoy.